Hey guys, just got my DERC D50 in the mail. I wanted to do a quick unboxing for this Amazon review. From what I understand of this D50, this particular one I got didn't have any reviews yet. From what I understand, it's the same as the other D50, the original D50, but with some upgrades, including this really nice case that it comes in. That's all that's in the box. Everything's packaged nicely in this case. This carrying case is decently sized, not too big, not too bulky, but everything is in here. There's a instruction manual. Piece of foam cover. There's a little pouch in the front. On the top. Got some charging cables for the batteries, some extra props. So I'm familiar with Holystone and DERC. This is actually my second Holystone drone. I'm not sure the relationship between Holystone and DERC, or DRC, I'm not sure how it's spelled, but that's the Holystone logo. So we got two battery packs here. Well, there's one, it's supposed to have two. There's the second one. So two battery packs. This is the phone clip. It clips onto the remote, hold your phone. Oh, anyway, I was saying I'm not too familiar with DRC, but I am familiar with Holystone, and all of their drones have been absolutely amazing. I've been very happy with them. This is the D50. Looks pretty nice. Here's the camera. Camera is positionable, but I don't believe it's positionable by remote. It's just a manual move. So I'll go through all the features of this after I set everything up and figure out how to work it all. I just wanted to do a quick unboxing of the drone itself. Here's the prop covers. I have 4 prop guards. Here is the landing gear. Not sure how that goes on yet. I'll have to, looks like it's going to require, well, I guess it's not going to need it. Totally just snap in. Yeah, there we go. You just slide into these little clips right there, like that. Okay. It's nice and easy. Same thing on the bottom here. Put that one in. And clip that one in. Okay. So there it is. I'll get these batteries charging, and we'll do a full review. Here's the remote. Feels nice. The D50 itself feels pretty light. It's not super heavy, which you would expect from a drone this size. This actually feels pretty good. It's plastic, but it actually feels a little bit beefier than some of the other remote controllers that I've held. It doesn't feel like a plastic video game controller. This is interesting. They got the buttons on the back. I'm not sure exactly what all those do. That's the trims. That's probably your compass, and that's probably your speed setting. But it's interesting that they have them on the back of the remote. I guess you can access them all easily. You're just gonna have to know where they are. But interesting. Anyway, I'll get these charging, and I'll do a thorough review of all the different features of the D50 itself. Okay, I have had a chance to play with the D50 and take it for a spin. Thought I would finish this video up with all the things that I like and don't like. I'm going to be pretty thorough as I go through this, just to give everybody details. I like to have a detailed video when I watch, just to make sure it does everything that it says it's supposed to, so I'm going to go through all the features and show everything that I like and don't like. So for starters, I really love the case that it comes in. It's really nice and compact. It's about the size of a lunchbox, so it's not bad. The D50 only goes in one way. It'll seem like it can fit the other ways, but the props don't line up, and it just doesn't fit right. So it'll go in, kind of push it in, but it wants to go in a certain way, and that's with the drone facing towards the hinge of the box. That's the way it fits the best. I've accidentally tried to force it in the wrong way, thinking that it was going in the right way, but it didn't fit right. So that's one thing to keep in mind for starters. But overall, I love that everything is nice and neat. It's got battery compartments, so it holds the batteries, it holds the remote, holds everything real nice. I'll come back to the drone in a second. The remote, it feels sturdy. I think I said this in the review or in the unboxing, but it doesn't feel like a cheap plastic one. I mean, it still feels lighter than my professional remote controls, like a Spectrum or even the DJI remotes. It's not quite as heavy and beefy as that, but it is. It doesn't feel like a cheap plastic game controller. It is plastic. It's just got a little bit more heft to it. I don't know how to describe it, but it feels a lot smoother. I like the controllers. I like the controls. They actually feel smooth, and there's no resistance. There's no clicking sounds or anything. It feels smooth. As far as the buttons on the back, I think I like those. It's nice to be able to hit them. It's real easy to identify which ones are which, and I was able to access them as I was flying by knowing which ones are which. So I actually think I like them, and it cleans up the front a whole lot. Makes it look real nice. This phone holder snaps in pretty easily. This is one of the few things that I'm not too keen on. I don't know if I can capture this in the video, but this kind of bows out. It's like the plastic bracket is wider than the center portion is, so it kind of has a flare out to it that I don't think is part of the design. So I can only imagine that if this is ever going to break, actually here you can kind of see the gap down here at the bottom is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. If it was ever going to break, or if something was going to break, this is the thing that I would anticipate would be what breaks. It does move into position, and it does tighten down once it's in position. It just feels like maybe that's going to be a weak spot. But it snaps in real nice, and it does hold my phone. I've got an older phone that I use to fly the drone that you'll see in a second, but it holds it just fine. I'm actually filming on my daily phone, my Note 8, but it holds my Galaxy S4 just fine, and it holds the Note 8 just fine as well. So it expands plenty wide to be able to fit a taller phone in there. It's not going to hold a tablet, but it will hold most phones, I believe, fairly easily. So that I like. Controller's good. I'll get to the buttons on the controller in a second. I like the battery pack. You get 2 of them. I like the fact that the USB is a micro USB port on the actual batteries themselves. The instructions recommend that you use the included charging cables. You get 2 of them, one for each battery pack, right here. So you do get 2 charging cables, and the instructions recommend that you use the included charging cables, but it's a micro USB, so I don't think that there's any issue with using a standard micro USB cable. So that's nice. You got these kicking around. I'm sure you've got, like me, have cables all over the place with that port on it, so it's nice to be able to charge them everywhere or anywhere. But again, everything fits nicely in this carrying case, so there's no reason not to have your cables with you. The batteries themselves slide into the bottom of the drone really easily. They've got a little clip here, a button, and that's what snaps into this location here, this little recess, and pressing on this button is what disconnects the battery. So when you slide it in, make sure you get it in the track, slide it down, and then it'll snap into place. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there's this wire here, and this is the transmitter wire for the video transmitter. It's real flimsy, and it's right in the way, and I almost closed it a couple times. I almost pinched it when I went to put the battery in. So make sure that wire is out of the way when you're sliding this in. Make sure it snaps in place. I don't know if you heard that click sound, but that indicates that it is snapped in all the way. If it doesn't snap into place all the way, then these front contactors aren't going to make connection. So you want to make sure it's seated all the way forward. You should hear that clicking sound. To disconnect it, same thing, press this button and then slide back on it. But it feels real secure in there. I have crashed it once, putting it through its paces. The battery stayed in, and there was very little damage. You do get feet. You get some landing skids, as I think I showed in the unboxing. I really like, if you don't want to use the included landing skids, it's got 4 little rubber bumpers. So you can actually use this to land on its belly without damaging anything, and that's probably the way I'm going to fly this. I can't foresee needing the ground clearance that this gives you. It took off just fine without the landing skids. Plus, every extra thing that you clip on here is going to decrease your flight time. So they do give you prop covers as well. The prop covers are a nice feature if you're flying indoors, but again, all of those things are going to limit your flight time. So as you can see, I already got some skimming on the prop tips. So far, pretty durable. I'll get more to that in a second. So these prop guards, they snap in. I don't know if you heard that click sound, but they snap into the front like that, and then to take them out, you lift up on this tab, and they're really in there tight. It feels like they're going to break. So I'm a little hesitant about that, but even pressing up on this tab, they still feel like they don't want to come out very good. So they snap in there tight. I guess that's a good thing. You don't want them popping out all the time, but just be warned that you do kind of got to pull on a little bit to get it out. So just keep that in mind. I apologize for the background noise. The neighbor next to me is doing some roofing, and it's very loud, so I'm sure that's picking up in the camera. My apologies. There's not a really good place to do this. So the drone itself, I like this outside switch. Real easy to turn on and off. The camera is pretty good. I'll get more to that in a second in the flight review. I really like it. The props, decent, sturdy, light. You get extra props as well in the package. So you get 4 props, 1 of each direction. It comes with a screwdriver. The screwdriver is used for taking the props off. There's these little prop caps that come off, and underneath there's the screw. So you actually have to unscrew the props. Again, make sure you put the right ones on the right location, but these little prop caps are nice. They clean everything up and make it look real nice. So you have the screwdriver to take off the props and also to put the battery in on the controller. There's a screw holding on the battery hatch, which you can use to take that off as well. So they thought of all the details. Everything is really well made. These landing gear skids, like I showed in my unboxing video, they slide right into these little recesses. Oops, sorry about that. Slide into these little recesses like that and clip in. So they work well, but I will probably be doing all of my flying without these just to get some increased flight time. But overall, these are a nice feature, as well as the prop guards if you're going to be flying indoors or on rough terrain and you want to keep it off the ground. As I mentioned, there is no there's no servo-operated adjustment of the camera, so you have to get the camera in the configuration that you're going to be using when you're flying. Little annoying, but not a big deal for these more inexpensive drones like this D50. So not a huge inconvenience. This is going to be flying like super fast FPV, where it's going to be in a tight bank anyway, so that maximum camera angle that you get there, this is as high as it'll go. You're not going to be in a configuration where you're flying like this in this orientation, so it's not really a big deal that the camera doesn't go up all the way. More high performance drones, you're at a steeper angle, so you want that camera to be able to go all the way up. This is not one of those. I don't know what the top speed is, but it's not fast. It's not made for that. But if you're just doing some aerial video and stuff like that, you can adjust the camera to the orientation that you want before you take off. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to bind everything together and show you some flight performance stuff. So let me get my phone turned on again. Should be ready to go. The DERC or DRC, I'm not sure how you say it, but oops. The DRC app is the one available on the Google Play Store as well as the Apple Store. It got really negative reviews for some reason. I haven't seen all of the reasons for the bad reviews. It did not get good reviews on the Google Play Store at all. So I haven't had any issues with it. Some people are saying it's just a white screen, but so far it's worked fine for me. As far as connecting to the drone, first you're going to want to turn the drone on. You'll see the nice lights, and as soon as you turn it on, it's going to go through its orientation process trying to bind with the remote. So you want to turn the remote on, just press it once. Now they're trying to talk to each other, so you're going to want to move the throttle stick up and down. Your lights will stop flashing, and you're now connected to the drone. So it's that simple. Green lights on the back are your indicator for your battery. Nice bright white lights on the front along with the camera. Does a good job of illuminating everything in the dark. Maybe I'll try to get a video later of it flying in the dark, but these lights are super bright, almost too bright. A little bit distracting if it's completely dark. but if you're trying to do some night flying, that front white LED is very effective and very bright and does a pretty good job of illuminating things. So the drone is now connected. There is a switch on the back that's got this little button here. That is your configuration, calibration, I guess, switch is the word I was looking for, calibration. So I'm going to hold that button. You can't see it, but I'm pressing it in and holding it down. You're supposed to do that before every flight or after a crash, and what that does is calibrates the drone in its current settings, sitting flat and level, so that it knows that that's its correct configuration. So you're going to want to do that whenever you crash or when you're using it for the first time. You want to calibrate it. So now everything's bound, ready to go. As far as the app goes, what I want to do next, now that the drone is turned on, I want to connect it to the drone's Wi-Fi. The drone has its own Wi-Fi signal that it's sending out, and that's what I want to connect to in order to be able to control it. So I'm going to turn on my Wi-Fi and pull up my Wi-Fi settings, and I should see DEERC right there connected. Okay, so it's ready to go. So now that it's connected, when I go to the DEERC app and start this, I should see what the drone sees, which is the carpet. So there you can see camera's working. Everything seems good there. I'm just going to keep it at a slightly downward angle for starters. But it is ready to go. So, okay, for takeoff, there's two ways to start the drone. You can do it manually by moving both sticks to the center. That initiates takeoff, and from there you can start increasing your throttle. And it's going to want to auto take off. The other way to do it, as soon as it hits the ground, it turns off the motors. That is a safety feature that I kind of like. If you're not doing a full takeoff, it's going to stop the motors as soon as it touches the ground. The other way to do it is the one key takeoff. You press this, and the drone's going to wait for an input, and as soon as you press up, it's going to automatically jump in the air to a set location. I'll see if I can do this without hitting anything. Okay, so you couldn't see that, but I'll move the phone like this. That's better. So the one key takeoff, same thing. Press the button, fires up the motors, put the throttle up, and it wants to take off. So to land after one key takeoff, just press down, press the throttle down, and it's going to descend, and it's going to turn off as soon as it does. If you do arm the motors manually like this, you can press the one key takeoff, and it'll turn the motors off. Another thing to keep in mind, these two buttons right here, these two top shoulder buttons, are your emergency stop buttons. Normally they function as a camera and video button and your 3D flip or your 360 degree flip button, which I'll demonstrate in a second. Normally those are the functions, but if you press both of them at the same time, it's an emergency stop. So a great thing for that, like when you would use that, is if your drone is flying into the neighbor's yard and you don't want that to happen, you can actually kill it. I'll give a quick demonstration here. Get it a little bit higher. You press both of these buttons, and it's just going to fall out of the sky. So, not ideal if you're high in the air. If you have some altitude, you definitely don't want to do that. However, it is a handy feature if it's flying away from you and you're losing sight of it and it's going to do something you don't want it to do. It's nice to be able to quickly kill it. That's a feature that I haven't seen on a lot of other drones, so it's something that I really like. As far as the menu goes, there's a whole bunch of functions of the DEERC app that I like. Some of them are kind of gimmicky, but I'll go through those one by one. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit so you can see what we're seeing. The first is the camera function. Oops, sorry, I keep bumping the holder. First is the camera function. If you press the camera button, oops. If you press the camera button, it's going to automatically take a picture. So you can do that while you're flying, and it's going to take that picture. You can also, in the same way, you can press this camera button on the shoulder. You can press that while you're flying at any time, and it's going to take a picture. There is a considerable delay. I was trying to take some selfies, and I noticed while I was flying there was a considerable delay after I pressed the button. So you do get some delay. The video button, if you press this, it's going to start recording. It's going to tell you my phone doesn't support 1080, but that's fine. Just hit confirm, and it's going to start recording. I had to do this several times. It keeps popping this menu function up. I don't know why it did that. I guess that's one of the glitches of the software, but I had to press it confirm 5 times. But it does start recording, and it does record the videos, and they're pretty decent videos. The camera's not the best, but they're pretty decent for what it is. Pretty impressed. Along with manually pressing the buttons on the screen, if you don't want to do that, you do have the function of the shoulder button. It also activates the camera. So you can press and hold it for 2 seconds, and that actually starts and stops the video recording. So to stop it, you just again press it, hold it for a second, and it will stop. If you tap it, it's a camera picture, a still photo, but if you press and hold it for a second until it double beeps like that, it's going to start recording. It's going to start recording video. So that is the video functions. Then to review your pictures, you can press this little picture button, and you can look at all the pictures. No, I don't want to claim a 30 refund. You might want to, but here's all the pictures that I just took, so you can see and review those. I'm going to go back. Okay, now there's a bunch of other features that I did not know about. You can reverse your screen. I don't know why you'd want to. You're not going to be flying inverted with this. But for some reason, if you want to fly upside down like that, you can invert your picture screen. VR, I haven't messed with that. I do have VR goggles. It seems a little bit cumbersome, so I don't think I'd want to mess with that too much, but you can hit that VR button, and it gives you the split screen view that you would use in your virtual reality phone holder, like a Google Cardboard or a Samsung. I'm forgetting the name of it, but the VR headset, you can actually put your phone into that and it'll split the screen so you can actually see a simulated VR experience. But I haven't played with that, but that's not really something that interests me too much. Okay, this last button here, it looks like a power button. That one gives you access to a bunch of extra features that aren't normally there. There's the on-screen controls, which I'll talk about in a second. I don't really like the on-screen controls. You can actually operate the drone without this controller. You can actually use the phone itself and use these on-screen joysticks to control the drone. However, there's 2 things I don't like. One, I don't like the lack of joysticks. I like that tactile sensation of having actual joysticks. It's hard to drag your thumb across a screen and know exactly how much input you're using, especially if you're watching the drone and not watching the phone. Second thing I don't like is this uses Wi-Fi to communicate with the drone, so there's a little bit of a lag in the signal. So when you make an input, the drone takes a second to respond. So if you're trying to fly using just the phone screen and just this FPV first-person view, it's really difficult to fly with any kind of precision because the drone is delayed in its responses into what you're telling it. But as far as the actual controls, you have to press that power button to access these other functions while you're flying. That beep, I accidentally pressed this button. That's a good thing to note is these trim buttons. While you're flying, you can actually trim the drone forward and backward. If it's drifting to one side or if it's drifting forward or backward, you can actually press these trim buttons to level that back in. I showed you the calibration button, but there's also this speed button. Now the speed button registers here at the bottom, and that shows you what setting it's on. It's going to default to the easy setting, which is 25% control input. That means you're going to move your throttle sticks, and it's only going to register around 25%. The drone's going to be a lot slower to respond. It's going to be a lot more docile. That's also the default mode that it always takes off in. Now you continue pressing that button, and the beeps correspond with the level that it's at. So 1 beep is low, 2 beeps is 50%, 2 beeps, that's 50%. Beep, beep, beep. That was 3 beeps, that's 75%, and then expert mode, they call it, is 100%. That's 4 beeps, and that is the most control that you have. Having many drones and reviewed several of these types of drones, I'm not overly impressed with the 100% expert control input. I'll show you that in a second, but I feel like it's not as peppy and responsive as some of the other Holy Stone DEERC drones that I've had before. It just feels like even in expert mode, it's a little sluggish on the control responses. I feel like it's a little slow to respond. Great for beginners, but if you want to do some more advanced stuff with it, it's just a little bit. It's not a peppy, zippy race around the backyard flyer. You don't really get that aggressive movement and lean that you would need to compensate for wind or to have any kind of speed. So maybe that's in the design, I'm not sure, but I'll demonstrate that here in a second. There's these other functions that you have. You've got the one key launch that you can use. I have not gotten this function to work. This is a selfie mode where you're supposed to, when the drone is looking at you, you press that button and you make either a peace sign or you wave at it, and it's supposed to take your picture or start recording. If you flash a peace sign, it's supposed to take your picture, and if you wave at it, it's supposed to start recording. I have not been able to get that to work yet. So I will try to do that when we're actually flying here in a second. You're also supposed to be able to give it voice commands. I have not been able to get that to work. I'll play with it some more off camera and see if I can get it to work, and if I can figure it out, I will update the video. But as of right now, I haven't gotten either of those to work. This is your tap to fly function, and I have gotten that to work. Let me see if I can get it to pull up here. I'll show it while we're flying, but it is not GPS based at all. So that's an important thing to remember, is the drone doesn't know where it is as far as geospatial awareness. All it knows is its current location when it's flying. So what you do here is you drag a shape while you're flying, and the drone will actually fly in that orientation. However, it doesn't influence its yaw setting that I've been able to see, so you can't control which way it's facing while it's doing that. You're just tracing that shape, and it just flies that shape. But there's no scale reference mark on it, so I don't know what this area represents, but you'll see the drone's movements aren't very aggressive. So it's not like you go like this and it's going to fly across your yard. Everything that I've seen, you trace a box and it just does a real short, quick, shallow box. So it's more of a gimmick to me. I haven't found a functional use for it. Being able to fly a big pattern and orient the drone in a specific orientation would be super handy, but I can't see how you would get that without having an onboard GPS. And this does not seem to have that I've noticed. So this again seems like a little bit more of a gimmick. I guess you can still control your throttle, but as far as actually flying the drone, you can just trace shapes and it will just do some simple things. I guess it's basically taking away the stick. And if you just want it to keep flying circles, you can just keep tracing circles and it'll keep doing that. But again, I'd much rather just actually fly it with the sticks. But it could be useful for some people. We'll demonstrate that here in a second. As far as flight time, I'll move on to that. I'm going to get rid of this menu for a second. We'll get back to that later. As far as flight time, let's see if I can get my camera adjusted so we can see more of the drone in the air. Let's try to do two or both at the same time. No guarantees. So I'm going to arm it manually. Actually, I'll show the one key start. I'm going to press the auto launch button, and I'm going to press up on the stick, and it jumps into the air. So I've put it in 100% mode, so it's a little bit peppier right now, but I can move that back to, well, you can't see that. Where's my button? There it is. Alright, so that was one beep. So this is beginner mode. This is nice and docile. You can see when I put a throttle input in, that was the full throw of the stick. I moved it all the way. So full movements of the stick are still like, you can't overcompensate, you can't overcorrect. I'm doing a full movement of the stick all the way to its far points, and the drone is real slow, real sluggish to respond. I'm going to press it again, the power button again. There's a little bit of a breeze in here, that's why it's drifting. Again, the drone is pointing away from it right now, so that back green light is what's indicating my power. It'll start flashing when the battery starts getting low. But as of right now, it's showing me that it's got full power. So I'm going to increase it to 50% now. Oh, I was already at 50%. I'll cycle back through. There's 100. There's 50. All right, 50. I get a little bit more responsiveness. It's still a little sluggish to respond. All right, that green flashing now means I believe it's below 50%. I was playing with it a little bit already, so that's not an accurate representation of the flight time. I'll show you a full video of the flight time later just to give it a full duration test to see how long it'll fly for from start to stop. But right now it's showing that it's at 50%. I'm going to increase it to 75 now. Right now the 50 that's displaying there is the throttle setting, so it's showing me where the throttle is at. The throttle always defaults to the center position at 50, but you can see as I press up on the throttle, it registers higher. My that is 75. I'm going to press it one more time. Alright, it's 100% throttle input now. This is expert mode. And so this is full inputs on the controller. It's peppy, it's responsive, but it still doesn't feel like the aggressive lean that you might get with some other quadcopters. If this is your first one, this will be more than enough, and it'll be perfectly sufficient to scare the crap out of you and make you want to slow down. However, if you are a flight junkie and you're used to flying aggressive FPV aircraft, this might not be enough movement for you or enough responsiveness. However, for what this drone is and what its price point is, I'm very happy with it and what it can do. Okay, there is a couple things that I wanted to point out. There's one last function, and that's this power button. And what that does when you press that, it gives you access to the on-screen controls, as well as a whole bunch of extra additional automated features. Now, that being said, I'm currently using an S4, a Galaxy S4. It's an older phone, it's a smartphone, but it's a little bit older. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but I'm going to go up and show you. Look at that red firewood bag in the video. I don't know if you can see the artifacts around it. See the edge of the chair? You can see the ghosted image around the arm of the chair. The red bag has a ghosted artifact image around it. A lot of the images, I'm going to come over here and I'm actually going to catch it. So a lot of the images that you see here have a ghosting around them. I can't look at my shoe. You can see a ghosted image around the shoe, especially around light and bright things. The image quality looks really bad. Now, I'm actually recording on my Galaxy Note 8 right now, my personal cell phone, and I do not see that ghosting when I'm using my Note 8 connected to the D50. I only notice that when I'm using this. In addition to that, there's all these extra features. There is the auto takeoff, there's the motion capture where you motion to the drone and it takes video and photos. There's the touch drag flight characteristics, and then there's the microphone. None of those seem to work with this phone. So I don't know if there is a compatibility issue with older phones. It'll download the app, it'll run the app, but there are certain functions that I can't seem to get to work with this phone. So that being said, I'm going to switch over to recording with this phone and showing you the operations of the drone, the remaining features with this other phone. So hold please. To controlling with the Note 8, recording with the S4, I put the prop guards on the drone, so you can see the artifacts are a lot better. The video is a lot better. I'll include some actual video footage from the drone so you can see the video footage, but looks a lot better. Hard to tell from this screen. I apologize, this is going to be a little bit shakier. I don't really have a great way of holding both phones, but I just wanted to show these other features while I still have some battery left. So pressing this button gives you the on-screen controllers. I'll go through these all. The auto takeoff starts the drone. Pressing the up button lets it take off. It's hard to tell from the video, but it's really hard to control. As soon as the drone touches the ground, it turns off. Safety feature, it's a good thing, but it's really hard, at least for me, I'm not used to this. I find it really difficult to control it using these on-screen controls. They do work, and you can control it. However, they're a lot twitchier, and you have a lot less control, and you have a lot more lag. Control inputs, there's a little bit of a delay, and it's really easy to overcompensate. This other feature is supposed to allow you to take selfies using gestures. You're supposed to be able to make a gesture to the camera, and it's supposed to start taking a picture, or take a picture, or start recording. I have not yet been able to get that to work. Holding the camera without the drone flying doesn't seem to work. It's really hard to control it and gesture at the same time using two hands. So I have not yet been able to get that to work. Maybe you have. I find it a little bit of a gimmick anyway for this quality or this price point of drone. I've got a Mavic Air that can do those sort of things and actually follow hand gestures, but it's a considerably more expensive drone. So asking something at this price point to do that, I had really low expectations. I've yet to been able to get that to work. I'll tinker with it some more, and if I can crack the code and figure out how to do it, I will demonstrate that. However, as of this point, that doesn't seem to work very well. This microphone button down here is a voice command function, which is another one that I find a little bit gimmicky. I'll demonstrate it real quick. Fly. Fly. So it did start the motors. It shows you the commands here: fly, left, right, forward, backward. It unlocks, but telling it to fly again, fly. Doesn't make it like jump in the air or anything like that. It does land on command, but again, once you get the motor sound in there, you still have to control it with the controller. I'll give you a real quick demonstration. Fly. So there's no way to make it take off. I can turn the motors on by saying fly, but I can't make it take off. So I still have to do it this way. Let me get it stable, and I'll show you the reaction. Alright, it's pretty stable right there. I'll say left. I said left and it went right. It's done that every time. Land. So land does work. Again, I find that to be a little bit of a gimmick. I guess it's handy if you don't know what you're doing. You can just shout to it while you're controlling it with the phone. But as far as actually being able to control it by saying left, right, I haven't gotten that to work. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to turn the selfie mode off. The last feature is the drag control. I'll show you that. Let's take off here. Let me get rid of it first and get into a hover. Oh, I don't know if you can see all four lights flashing. All four of those lights mean that the drone battery is dead, basically. It's too low of a point to where it won't actually let me take off again. That indication means it's done. I got to put a fresh battery in, so it's not going to let me charge, or it's not going to let me take off anymore until I get a fresh battery in. So when you see all four of those batteries, or all five of those lights flashing like that, the drone's going to automatically land itself if you don't land it manually. So let me put a fresh battery in, and I'll show you the auto fly, or the auto waypoint thing. Okay, lastly I'm going to show you the auto motion. It's going to be really hard to get both in the same shot, but I'll try to do this. Let's get the drone taken off first. Get the motor started. I'm going to take off. This is not great for indoors. Oops. Okay. Gotta get it in a stable center of the room. Come down a little bit. Alright, I'm just gonna press my... Whoops. It's drifting. Alright, I'm gonna do this quick. Press this. My little box pops up. I'm gonna draw a square. Backward, forward, left, right. It's hitting the fence. And it crashed. So as you can see, not a whole lot of control. Very twitchy. There's no like gauge to how far it wants to go in one direction. So you go left. I can't see any way of telling it how far it's going left. If I was in a wide open field, which it's a little breezy for that right now. If I was in a wide open field, that might be more doable. But as of right now, I think it's just a little bit of a gimmick and nothing that I find useful. Okay, having put the D50 through its paces, I just wanted to do one quick follow-up and cover everything that I like and don't like. Overall, it's a fantastic drone, flies well, the camera is decent. A few quick observations. This FPV module, the camera module, does actually pop out. On one of the crashes, it popped out. So this is a separate assembly. I didn't know that came apart, and that's actually a good thing for me. If you ever want to just fly the drone around and not use it for FPV, and you just want to practice flying and practice learning your drone, you can actually disconnect this, and this should conceivably give you quite a bit better battery and duration performance. As it is now, with this on and with it recording video the entire time, I got over 12.5 minutes of flight time. So it's got really impressive flight time for these little batteries. I was actually pretty impressed. I can record, or I can show the video of my flight, and I'll include some of that footage here. But overall, over 12 minutes of flight time, so I can verify what they said on their ad. They said 12 to 15 minutes, I believe the ad said, of flight time, and I was at 12.5. So I can verify that. I bet if you took off this video transmitter module and it wasn't using up that extra battery power to send video to your phone, I bet you'd get even more flight time out of it. I guess I would like the ability to turn off the lights. Maybe that's a possibility. I'm not sure. I haven't dug that far deep into it, but the lights are always on. Not a big deal, but that would probably also increase your flight time a little bit if maximizing flight time is important to you. Other than that, everything works great. The camera is decent. Likes and dislikes. It's sturdy. I've crashed it a few times. In fact, in one of the videos I'll post, I smashed into something. I've smashed into a few things just putting it through its paces, seeing what it can do. The props are pretty flexible, which is great because they bend on impact and they don't break. I love that. Everything snaps out. The FPV module snapped out or popped out on a crash, and the battery has popped out on a crash, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not a bad thing. It's great that it can bend and not break. So I can vouch for its durability. Flight performance, awesome. I'm happy with the duration of the flight. I'm happy with the responsiveness. Again, I feel like it still doesn't have the full amount of capability. Like, you can't really like throw it into a forward drive to get extra speed out of it. There's certainly a limitation to how much bank you have, which in a little bit stiffer wind, I was kind of worried that it was going to get away from me. It was kind of struggling to come back, and it does drift with the wind pretty well because it's really light. However, having said that, pretty impressed with their flight performance. It's responsive, it's nimble, I can control it in some pretty tight spaces, so very happy with the flight performance. A couple of dislikes, very minimal. I wish that this FPV unit had a SD card on it. As of right now, it looks like the only battery or the only video option is limited to video streamed from this FPV module while you're flying to your phone. So the video quality is okay. However, I think if this was an actual camera recording to a live SD card on the drone, you'd be able to get some much better video after the fact. As of right now, you're limited to whatever's streamed from the drone while it's flying in flight, which isn't bad, but it could be a lot better as far as I'm concerned. That's a dislike. Another dislike is the controller battery seemed to go down pretty fast. I put cheap batteries in it. Actually, it's saying full now, but at the end of the last flight, it was showing half capacity on the batteries. So, not sure what that is all about. It's showing full now. But it looks like it's good now. Anyway, it was showing that it was half full, and I was like, man, that's drained awfully fast. A dislike, not the drone, but the flight software, the DEERC app. Seems to have its glitches, it seems to have its bugs. It works pretty well as far as just flying. You're not going to get any usable FPV video out of it. There's a lot of lag that makes it really difficult. In fact, even flying line of sight, I could still see it. When I tried to watch just the video, there was enough lag in the video to where I would quickly lose orientation, and I had to look up and actually see where it was and fly line of sight again, because it was just really distracting trying to fly FPV. So if you're strictly flying FPV, it might be a little bit difficult, but other than that, it flies great. It gets pretty decent video, pretty impressive flight time. So if you're buying this to just tool around, take some selfies, take some quick shots, throw it up and get some quick video of wherever you're at, it's pretty decent for as small as it is and as portable as it is, and for the flight time that you get out of it. It's really decent. The batteries do take a long time to charge. Both of these are, the instructions said 90 minutes to charge. is probably closer to, yeah, I guess 90 minutes is right. An hour and a half is about right. That's about what it took to charge both of these batteries, which seemed like an awfully long time. I guess that's not too bad considering you get 12 minutes of flight time. It just seemed like 90 minutes was an awfully long time for these to charge USB. So not too bad. The upside is you get 2 batteries, and you can charge both of them simultaneously with 2 charging cords. So it really does give you over almost a half hour of flight time, which is pretty good for this little guy. So it's a lot of fun. I can see getting 2 of these and setting up some races and doing some races around the backyard. So it's a really functional, nice little tight package. Everything fits neatly in this little carrying case. So super happy, very impressed with it. Not a lot of dislikes, nothing bad to say about it. It's pretty durable and it's a lot of fun. So overall, I would definitely recommend the DEERC D50.